Yeah, good morning, all the students. Welcome to this fifth semester machine learning first class. So I just wanted to orient you on a few points before going to start this session, and that is the course outline. What exactly you're going to study in this particular course, and how is the marks split up and all. So the course code is 18 MCA 53, as you all know, and the CIE marks are for 40. That is for your internal assessment, and SCE semester and examination is for 60 marks, and credits for this particular course is 3 credits. Okay, and you also have 5 modules as usual, like in other semester subjects. And the first module deals with what is basically machine learning, and the second module is how decision trees can be used, decision tree algorithms can be used in order to classify something, or what are the intricacies behind this particular algorithm, right? All these the mathematics behind this, that you will learn in the second module. And in the third module you have artificial neural networks. Okay, so how neural networks can be used, and various models under neural network, and various fitting techniques, all these you'll be learning in the third module. And in the fourth module you have Bayesian learning methodology, where you understand the basic Bayes theorem and how it is applied for classification. And in the fifth module, you have framing the hypothesis and how to test the hypothesis. Because you need to formulate a hypothesis when you're trying to prove something, or trying to predict something through your machine learning algorithms, right? So how to frame a hypothesis, and how to deal with that, how to prove that particular hypothesis, or how to gather data proof in order to support your hypothesis, right? That you will be learning in your fifth module. So all why exactly you have to learn these basics? Why don't you directly go for algorithms that are already available? In machine learning, in Python, you have lots of libraries which support this machine learning algorithm. They are readily available. Means you can just import a data set, fit a particular model to that data set, and try to find the accuracy, how good it is predicting a new data point, right? All these algorithms are pre-built, but why you need to learn the intricacies, or the basic concepts, the mathematics behind these concepts, is you can take an informed decision about the performance of a model. See, you can fit the model to a data set and get some performance, but how can you justify whether your performance is being properly given by that machine learning algorithm or not? Whether your data set is whether the capturing of your data is done correctly according to the problem at hand or not. That has to be understood well. Means the design of experiment, right from capturing the data, pre-processing the data, analyzing the data, visualizing the data, and trying to interpret the results and take some informed decisions. I assert on this point, informed decisions. Informed decisions means you take some decision with confidence. How you get that confidence? Only if you know the background or basic details of this machine learning, this is possible, right? That is why you have to understand all the basic concepts, mathematics, statistical concepts behind these machine learning algorithms, so that when you're applying these models, you will have certain confidence in order to arrive at some conclusions, in order to interpret your results, in order to take some valid decisions based on the results. Okay, for that you are going to learn this subject and all the basic concepts in this subject, right? And also the textbook that is prescribed for this is by Tom Michel, and it is Indian edition 2013, and it is published by Tata McGraw-Hill, and PDF copy is available with me. I'll share with you the copy. And remember, I'm not going to give you handwritten or printed notes. Okay, you have to read it from the textbook itself, because the textbook is only one textbook, prescribed textbook is only one. So that too, very small textbook. So you can directly read the concepts. The concepts are very crystal clear. You can read them and understand them very well. Only thing is you need to follow the classes. That's it. So once you follow the classes and go through the textbook, it is very easy for you to present it in the exams. So don't expect any notes to be given to you, right? And the next point is attendance. Attendance is compulsory. Like last time, you can't give any lame excuses that I don't have internet connection or I have very slow connection, lot of interruption. You have to make yourself equipped with proper infrastructure in order to attend the online classes. You know the scenario has changed, right? And we do not know, and it is like indefinite time when we are going to meet back in the college. So you all have to attend the classes without fail online till you can attend the offline, that is physical classroom classes. Okay. And the attendance you have to mark on the chat window. I'll after the class, when you all log out, I'll check the chat window and take your attendance. So participant list, I'm not going to check anyway. You have to mark your attendance on your chat box. Only those who mark your attendance, your USN number and name. All of you have to type your USN number and name on the chat window. Only then you will be considered to be present for my class, right? And if you're thinking that I will take your attendance from the participant list, that is a wrong impression. Okay, this time we are strictly going to take your attendance from the chat window, and the format is only your USN number and the name. That will be enough. So as soon as you log in, you just type your USN and name in the chat window so that I can take it at the end of the class, right? Good. And don't try to join in the middle of the class or at the end of the class. I will also see the time of your chat message that is posted. Okay. Within 10 minutes of the class begin, you have to type your USN and name, and it should be ready in the chat window. Only then your attendance will be given. And another point is interaction. All the classes have to be interactive. You can't mute yourself and sit in a silent manner. All of you have to interact. When I ask you questions, you have to answer, and weightage will be given for that. During the class, when I ask some question, you just say, I am Gunashekar, or I am Rajesh, or I am Bindu, and you give the answer. So immediately I'll note down your name and your number of questions answered, right? And that will have a due weightage during your internal assessment. And you will also be given some perks like exempting from assignments. Okay, if any assignments are given to you, if at all you are interacting very well during the class and you're answering lots of questions, that time you will be exempted from assignments. And due weightage also will be given during your internal assessment. Say you scored some 35 marks, but I'll see the interaction score. Based on that, I'll increase your internal assessment marks because you're very attentive during the class, right? That is about the interaction, and interaction timing varies. It may be during the class, at the beginning of the class, or at the end of the class. Okay, it varies. The schedule is will be staggering throughout. Okay, there is no specific time for interaction. It will be in line with your class as it goes on. And yeah, that's it with the basic things I wanted to talk about handling the classes. Now let us start the introduction to machine learning before going to the first module. Let me share the presentation. Yeah, can you see the presentation, students? Yeah. Now welcome to this introductory class on machine learning. Now, let me give you a comprehensive view about what is actually machine learning. We are making a machine to learn something. What we are trying to make it learn? Say we are making it to learn from the historical data that is already available and asking it to perform well with the new data it encounters, right? So we are trying to make it learn the existing historical data and increase its performance as it goes on learning and improve its experience. Okay, improve the experience of learning. So it learns how to predict something. Now if the prediction is correct, well and good. If the prediction is not correct, okay, how wrong is the, how much is the difference between the wrong prediction and the actual value, how it can minimize that particular value. That is called as machine learning. It learns from the existing data and it tries to predict something or classify something based on the new data that is given to it. Okay, this is called as machine learning. For this machine learning, lots and lots of algorithms are available. But before understanding each of those algorithms, if we understand the basic things behind it, then it is easy for us to cope up with any type of algorithm we come across, and also know the applicability of that particular algorithm to that particular situation in which we are analyzing that data. Now, what are the other, say, branches or domains which are intertwined with this machine learning? We have pattern recognition. Pattern recognition means identifying some fraudulent patterns or identifying some good performance by the student patterns. Okay, so students are performing in this particular duration very well. What kind of pattern it is you're trying to recognize, so that you will understand why they're performing in that particular way. The pattern of student learning during this pandemic. What is the pattern? How can you recognize it? You can do it with one or two students, but can you generalize it to the larger population? Can you generalize it to students across India? Can you generalize it to students across the world? How to generalize it? By only applying that particular intuition to larger amount of data. But when larger amount of data comes into picture, you can't do it all alone. You have to take the help of machines, and machines also can't do it all alone. You have to train them. You have to train them on the existing data, right? That is pattern recognition. And neural networks. Neural networks have various layers. They are similar to our brain neurons and the connections between those neurons. So these multiple layers of neural networks will help us to predict or classify the data. And even automation, machine learning is used for automation. Can you tell me any example where machine learning is used for automation, students?
Self-driving cars, ma'am.
Who is this?
Surya, monster.
Surya, okay. Yeah, self-driving cars, very good. And
Yes,
where
sir.
and also this machine learning contains lots of algorithms, because you can't decide that a particular algorithm is suitable for a particular problem at hand, right? So you have different types of problems dealing with different types of data, and for them, for those scenarios, you have various algorithms that match that particular context. Okay, and even artificial intelligence, machine learning and artificial intelligence, you usually hear those two terms together, right? So artificial intelligence is you're making a machine think artificially like human. For that, machine learning is very much required. And data mining, in order to mine the data, in order to discover knowledge from the data, machine learning is required. And in order to solve any problems, right? All these are problem solving techniques which use machine learning, which can be applied to various domains, diversified domains. Now, if you want to understand machine learning in a more specific sense, it can be divided into three types of learning: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Now, what is supervised learning? You have the data, you have their predictions or classifications, and you train the machine using that data, and you're asking it to classify a new data point by giving by passing it that new data point. So it will try to classify or predict what would be the outcome for that new data point, right? This is called as supervised learning. Why? Because you have the data and you have the outcome variable to train the machine. In that case, we call it as supervised learning. Labels are available, outcome variables are available, outcome labels are available. For that, we call it as supervised learning. And that can further be classified as classification and regression. And under classification, what types of problems you come across? Image classification, where you may have to classify the images. Say weather forecasting a problem. In that, you may have to classify the images taken at a particular weather station, whether the day is cloudy or whether it is misty or foggy, what kind of temperature, what kind of weather is expected for on that particular day. By seeing the image itself, can the weather forecasting application classify that? Okay, that comes under image classification, or lots of other things. Say face detection applications, where detecting the face, they can try to predict whether he is an authorized employee, or classify, not predict, classify whether he is an authorized employee or not. Okay, these all comes under image classification. And identify the fraud detection. Say your credit card is stolen and it is used somewhere else, completely apart from your geographical location. So how would the machine in seconds, or a fraction of seconds of time, can predict that it is a fraudulent transaction? By machine learning, we can make it possible. You can just see commonly where that credit card is being used. And now it is being used at a completely different location. So is that the criteria to tag it as a fraudulent transaction, or any other criteria can be considered? All these are dealt with under fraud detection. And diagnostics, say classifying whether a cell is cancerous cell or not, or classifying whether a patient is prone to acquire a heart disease or not, based on his lifestyle parameters and his physical or vital parameters like BP, sugar, say BMI, body mass index, and lots of other parameters can be considered, and you can try to predict whether a patient can acquire a heart disease or not, right? That is how it is used in diagnostics. And customer retention, like I keep saying, whether a customer will stay loyal to a company or he'll move on to a different company. Say telecommunication provider, because in Airtel a lot of call drops are there and no proper network signal. That is why we try to move on to another telecommunication. So how the customers can be attracted and retained with a particular service provider, and how we can make him stay loyal by applying some discounts, or by giving some targeted packs, say value packs, like in say telecommunication, like in phones, they give you say this pack is unique for you. So this is the call time, free call time that will be given, right? All these targeted discounts, all these can be planned by analyzing the customer behavior with that particular company, right? That comes under customer retention. And another type is regression. There are actually two types of tasks in supervised learning: classification, where you try to classify something into two classes or multiple classes, say fraudulent or not, customer loyal or not, or he's a defaulter of the loan or good payer of the loan, right? All these are classification problems. And you may have multiple classes also. where the machine is working properly, or it is having defect 1 or defect 2 or defect 3, right? That comes under multiple classification problem. But entirely different context is regression problem. Regression problem means you're trying to predict some continuous variable. You're trying to predict the cost price, or you're trying cost price of a you're trying to predict the sales price of a flat in a particular area, or you're trying to predict the stock price of share. Okay, these all comes under regression because your outcome variable here is a continuous variable. It is a number. It is not a category. In classification, the outcome variable is a categorical variable or a binary variable. But in regression, you have the outcome variable as continuous variable. That is somewhat like a number. Okay, it can be a float value, to be precise. Okay, now under regression, what types of problems you come across? Advertising, popularity prediction, weather forecasting, say how much, what would be the weather tomorrow? What would be the temperature tomorrow? You open the weather app on your phone and you get the predictions for next 7 days, right? So it is having the predicted temperature. How is it done? It is done by analyzing the previous 10 to 20 years historical data and the previous month's data, or first half of the year's data, like taking some historical data. How would be the weather pattern for the next 1 week will be predicted. That is used in weather forecasting. And market forecasting. You're introducing some product, some new product. Okay, now how similar products have performed well in the market previously at this part of the year or during this particular festival time? How is the market, and whether we can use that particular data and forecast its market in the future? Similar type of product is being launched, and can we forecast its market, and also to which type of customers it is targeted? Okay, senior citizens. This particular product is targeted to address issues of some senior citizens. Right now, how they can take that particular product, whether it will be accepted by that particular demographic group or not. Okay, all these comes under market forecasting. And estimating the life expectancy. So based on the vaccination trends, based on the infant mortality, based on the maternal health, or based on the GDP of that particular country, can you expect the life duration of a particular say citizen of that particular country? Okay, like the parameters, can you expect what would happen in the future? Can you predict what would happen in the future? Okay, here you are trying to expect the age, maximum age of a particular person based on various parameters I have just mentioned. Okay, that is used in estimating the life expectancy. And population growth prediction. Okay, population growth have increased at this particular rate in the last 10 years. So based on this, can you predict its growth in the next 10 years? That is called as regression problem, right? So you're trying to analyze what is existing and you're trying to predict what would happen in the future. And that can't be done alone by the human beings because you're trying to deal with large amounts of data. So you have to make the machines learn that huge amounts of data and make it to predict the future data points. And when we take this unsupervised learning, you have again two types of problems: clustering problems and dimensionality problems. In clustering problems, you have again recommender systems where the customers can be clustered as these groups of children. Say in Netflix, you have accounts for children, adults, and elder persons, older persons, right? In that, for this particular profile, you recommend this kind of movies in the watch list. And for middle age, you recommend certain genre movies in the watch list, right? So you're trying to recommend something to the customer based on the cluster to which he belongs. Okay, so that will increase the customer retention because he's getting nice movie suggestions based on his interests, right? That is the basic idea behind this recommender systems. They cluster the customers into different groups and try to meet their interests. And targeted marketing. This targeted marketing, as I said, if you want to say have different clusters of customers, say only for children, if you're designing something, your marketing strategies may be different. If you're trying to design something only for the young people, marketing strategies will be different. So based on the cluster to which your targeted customer belongs, your marketing strategies will vary, right? That can be done easily by adopting this machine learning techniques. And customer segmentation, where you can divide your customers into various clusters. And it is also used in dimensionality reduction. Remember, in this clustering and dimensionality reduction, you don't have any labels. Means you don't know what would be the outcome. Based on the parameters, based on the characteristics of the new data point, you'll try to assign that particular data point to a particular cluster, right? So there is no labeling here. There is no data to supervise you to take a decision. That is why it is called as unsupervised learning. And in dimensionality reduction, you have other techniques as meaningful, the application areas lie in meaningful compression, where you compress the data when your data is too large. Big data visualization, when you can take some quick decisions by visualizing the data rather than going through and analyzing each and every part of the data. And structure discovery, if you want to discover any structures in the data, the spread of the data, the central tendency of the data, all comes under structure discovery. And feature elicitation, say you want to elicit the features, you have the data, but you do not know how your data point can be described well, with what set of characteristics, with what set of features your data can be described well. You don't have any idea before. So you have to elicit the features, you have to get the features in order to better predict the new data points. Okay, that is called as feature elicitation, feature engineering, feature selection. Okay, all this comes under this particular category. Okay, this is how we can understand machine learning in a more broader sense. Now, what are the 4 major activities of data science or machine learning? You have the first task as data surfing, where you try to explore the potential data that would be useful to answer the problem at hand. Then is data wrangling, where you gather the data, clean the data, connect the data, and transform the data. Gather the data means from which source the data can be captured. Identify the right source. Say you are developing some analytics application or machine learning application for your placement department, HR department, and you gather the data from accounts department, that is not a proper match, right? So you need to find out the right source of data from where you have to collect the data to answer your problem. Okay, that is very important. So you need to gather the data, clean the data, because the data is not always clean. It may have missing values, it may have redundant values, it may have some values which doesn't fit under that particular parameter. Okay, all these data have to be cleaned. If your data is not clean, it is like garbage in and garbage out. Means you put the garbage into the machine learning application and you get only garbage. Means you don't get any reliable results. You can't interpret properly anything from the outcome of that machine learning application. So you need to clean the data, pre-process the data. This stage is called as pre-processing. So you need to pre-process the data, then connect the data to, if at all you are trying to get dynamic data, connect the data to proper data sources to continuously get the dynamic data, and also transformation of data is required. Say you are trying to work with a combination of numerical data as well as categorical data. In that case, you need to make some transformations because they are not compatible, right? Numerical and categorical data can't work together. So you need to bring them to a common format so that you can apply the machine learning techniques to it. So you need to transform the data. One more thing. I say the salary of an employee, it is a number, and it lies between 10,000 to 1 lakh. And the age of an employee, it lies between 20 to 60, right? So what is the range here? Both are numerical data, but the range is 20 to 60 and 10,000 to 1 lakh. The range is too high, right? So this kind of data have to be normalized so that they can be brought under a specific scale, so that they can be brought under say 10 to 20, or they can be brought between the interval 0 and 1 or 0 and 10. Means you're trying to normalize the data so that all the numerical values or all the categorical values fall between a particular range, which will help the machine learning algorithms to perform better and give you reliable results. Okay, so not only gathering the data, not only pre-processing the data, but you have to do proper transformation of the data in order to bring it under a proper range or under a proper scale. And the next step is data mining. You need to choose the appropriate algorithm, use that algorithm, and test the algorithm and refine the algorithm. First, you choose the algorithm which is appropriate to answer your questions, and use and check its performance, and refine the algorithm if it is not performing up to your expectations. And finally, data artistry. That is, use what you have discovered from the data mining step. You have obtained some results, you have obtained some visualization. Based on those interpretations and visualizations, can you say draw some conclusions, or can you report something on the analysis task? Share your discovery about the data. Say to the users who are interested in that particular knowledge that is discovered from the data, and present it in a proper way so that they understand the the core idea of why you have actually done that analysis, right? These are the major activities in any machine learning task. Now, we have already seen many applications, right? Applications of machine learning, refining the search engine results, social media services, online customer support, virtual personal assistants, automatic translation, video surveillance, fighting and filtering web spam and malware, online fraud detection, product recommendations. Okay, now I want each one of you to give me one example of each of these applications, because these are quite appealing, right? They can self-explain where they are all applied. So you can give me some examples. Refining search engine results. Can you give me an example? Students? Refining the search engine results.
Google, ma'am.
Google. Who is that?
Surya.
Surya, okay. And virtual personal assistants?
Chatbots, ma'am.
Chatbots, very good. Can we give chance to other students? Social media services, what would be the application?
Image recognition.
In social media?
Image recognition.
No, you're talking about social media services.
Yes, ma'am.
Who is that?
Manoj.
Manoj, can you tell me how it is used? Image recognition in social media services?
It like it automatically recognizes like in Google Pics and all, ma'am.
Oh, good. Okay. And any other kind of applications in social media, suggesting the friend list? You agree with me? Okay. Online customer support. Manoj, right? Who answered right now?
Tanuj,
Manoj. Okay.
Tanuj.
Tanuj.
Ma'am, B.
Okay. Fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah. Online customer support.
Automated chatbots.
Very good. Automated chatbots. Who is this? Shashank?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And automatic translation?
Google Translations, ma'am.
Google Translator. Okay. Who is this?
Ajay.
Ajay. Very good. Then what is, where it is used in video surveillance? How it is used in video surveillance? No idea. Some suspicious movements or finding the number of tigers in a forest. See, it has some images, right? It goes through images of various animals. But if you want to count only the tiger population in a particular forest, so you install a sensor there and you install a camera there. When you find out only the tiger imaged in that video, then automatically it can be counted, right? This is one of the application for video surveillance. Then fighting and filtering web spam and malware. Fighting and filtering web spam and malware.
Ma'am,
Where exactly it
emails,
can be
ma'am.
used.
Fraudulent emails or email spamming.
Exactly. Who is this?
Suru Shashank, ma'am.
Shashank. Okay. And online fraud detection, I already gave this example, right? If you want to find whether a transaction is fraudulent or not, or product recommendations, these I have given already some idea about where exactly it can be used. Okay, mute yourself on that side. Lot of disturbance. Okay, now how machine learning is used for medical diagnostics? One scenario can you give, students? Where machine learning is used for medical diagnostics. I already spoke about this application in the class. Finding whether a cell is cancerous cell or not. Predicting about patient whether he acquires a disease or not. Based on the symptoms, can you categorize?
In smartwatches, it detects
Your
heart
voice is
rate.
breaking. Can you repeat?
In smartwatches, ma'am, it detects heartbeat and let us know if it's low or
Very
not.
good, very good. Medical diagnostics, exactly.
Yes,
Who is this?
Paresh, ma'am.
Paresh, okay.
Ma'am, it can be used for personalized treatment for different patients.
Yes. Very good. Name?
Ajay.
Ajay. Yes. Okay. So these are all the application areas in medical diagnostics. So you're able to relate, right, where exactly machine learning can be used. We'll move on to next application area, that is machine learning in finance. Can you give me some scenarios where it can be applied?
Ma'am, credit scores, ma'am.
Yes.
For when someone has to take a loan, so based on his credit score, they give them the loan.
Yes, very good. Who is this?
Suru Shashank, ma'am.
Shashank again. Okay. Yeah, credit worthiness. In order to find out the credit worthiness of a particular customer when he applied for the loan, if at all he is having a good credit score, then this machine would have already analyzed the historical data of various customers. So based on their score and tallying with his present score, it can understand whether he is a credit-worthy customer or not, whether the loan can be granted to that customer or not, right? Like this in finance, or where the investment can be done, or what about the stock price future based on its previous performance. All these can be made possible by using this machine learning techniques. Okay, these are the various application areas in finance. Security, like say where the suspicious account behavior or fraudulent transactions have to be detected, or in financial monitoring. So you might have seen in movies, right, when they wanted to convert the black money into white, they normally credit that money into lots of people's accounts, like microtransactions. Every person will get 10 rupees or 100 rupees, right? So the entire state people will get amount in small, money in small amounts. And this kind of microtransactions can be understood by machine learning, where it can suspect money laundering things, money laundering fraud. Okay, and even in fraud detection and prevention, as I said, and investment predictions, where the investment can be made, in which particular mutual fund the investment can be made based on its previous performance. Okay, it is giving good profits, so this is the fund where you can invest. This kind of predictions can be made by investment bankers using machine learning techniques. And risk management. Risk management is finding out credit worthiness of the customer. Say they have given, banks have given loans to many customers, but they are not able to pay back. Then the bank will have to go into loss, right? They don't have, they won't be able to maintain even the minimum capital balance. So that will send the bank into losses and finally closure of banks. That happened in this kind of subprime crisis have happened in America during 2000. That led to recession. Okay, this can be avoided by using machine learning techniques for risk management. And even robo advisory. Robos themselves will try to advise something. You might have watched the movie Android Kunjappan, right? I think Malayalis might have watched it. Okay, in robo will try to advise based on its experiences. It tries to learn its interactions with the human for whom he is serving. And based on the interactions, it will try to learn and try to give him the best advice next time. Okay, it is something like reinforcement learning. It is trying to understand through its previous learning, through its previous experience, and always tries to enhance its advice or interaction in the later stages. Okay, and even trade settlements, where trade settlements, procuring the say raw material, sending the raw material, dealing with the logistics, where there is a standardized process, that entire thing can be taken care by the machines. Okay, and even network security, algorithmic trading, where the trading is divided into multiple parts, and all this and those parts can be executed in a particular manner. And money laundering prevention. Okay, all these are examples of application areas of machine learning in finance. And that is what we have discussed: machine learning in investment management and asset management. Okay, and what are the top 3 applications? We might have just wondered, okay, it is being used in many areas, but what are the top 3 applications which can improve our daily life? Machines are trying to improve every phase of life of humans, but what are the top 3 applications? Right? We might have felt little curious about that. So these are the top 3 applications: the virtual personal assistant, and predictions while traveling, and social media services. Virtual personal assistant. Say, if you have a virtual assistant which advises you that your grocery rack is empty, can you try to buy some grocery, and this is the list for you for this month based on your consumption in the previous month. Okay, if at all you can receive such kinds of advice, you need not even spend some time to check what grocery is required for you this month, because it is maintained by an assistant for you. Based on your previous consumption patterns, it is trying to predict what is required by you in the future. Okay, and say if it can decide a recipe for you and suggest based on the recipes that are already fed into your virtual assistant. Okay, now this is the mood of the customer, and this is the geographic location, and this is the health parameters monitored today. So this would be the best recipe you would be interested to eat. If at all such kind of suggestions can be made by your virtual assistant, you feel like you have a best friend with you, right, who is actually talking to you and taking care of you so well, right? That is how virtual personal assistants will create a mark in our life in the future. And even predictions while traveling by self-automated cars. Okay, so it is coming across this kind of road, or it is coming across this kind of vehicle. So what next immediate action it has to be, action that has to be taken in order to avoid any accidents, or in order to ensure a smooth drive to the traveler. All these can be made possible by predictions while traveling. And social media services. Say if you have say friends suggestions you get, or LinkedIn profile, say you may get some suggestions of people in the workplace you are already working, right? In social media, if it can optimize if it can increase the engagement time of a particular person with that particular social media platform, then it can study that person's behavior and try to sell it to various companies which would target their sales, or which would target their advertisements based on your behavior on social media platforms. Okay, these are social media services offered by machine learning. Right, these are actually changing the way people live and how they are engaged throughout the day, and making the living more easier for the people. Right, that is how machine learning is bringing a paradigm shift in the way people are living, with more ease and more satisfaction by saving more time. Okay, so these machine learning algorithms understands better about the humans that time is money. If they can save time, we can turn that time into more productive way, where we can increase our productivity in many other areas, right? This is how I try to create some interest within you about the course you are going to learn. So in the 4th hour, we'll start the introduction to module 1. Any doubts or anything you want to discuss with me? I think all of you marked your attendance, right, in the chat window. 57 48 students are there. So all of you mark your attendance, right? Just check, do not miss, and don't mark your friend's attendance. I will tally your attendance with the participant number. Okay? Okay, any doubts on the introduction part, what we have discussed now? Okay. Take some time to join your next class then. See you in the 4th hour.
Thank you.
Okay.